So the first step is to find the place where you'd like to put your safe. After you've located a suitable spot, you start with the bottom. The safe comes in 4 boxes. They're labeled what panels are in the boxes. The one box should have the bottom, the top, and the back all in it, and they'll be labeled. And the bottom is going to be the panel that has all the accessories laid in it. We do that on purpose because when you pull that panel out first and you bring it to your location, it's going to have everything you need to get going with assembly. You set the bottom where you like it, and situate it appropriately, pull the stuff out of the base, set it next to the safe. You're going to need all that stuff really soon. The first thing you want to get ready are the bolts. There's a fair amount of bolts that hold the safe together. On the larger model, there's 48. On the smaller one, there's a few less. Get yourself a suitable helper, and then bring in the left side of the safe. The boxes, like I said, are labeled. Open up the one that says left side, bring it in, set the left side in place, and while the helper holds the panel in place, go ahead and pull the bolts in along the bottom. So when we install these bolts, we want to install them all loosely. Make sure that you can get all the bolts started before you snug any down. And then as long as you install them loosely, it makes certain that none of the panels can fall off. When I say loosely, I usually put them in so they're sticking out about 1/2 inch, just so you have plenty of wiggle room, but they're in there so none of the panels can become dislodged. Next, the back panel is going to be in that first box you opened. So we put that one on next. It goes on and just sets right in place. Next to the side panel, same thing. Put the bolts in of all the open bolt holes that you have now available after you put the back in. The next step is the right side. So the right side goes on just like the left side, and it actually looks the same as the left side. The only difference is the right side is going to have 4 extra holes on the front for the hinges to bolt into. So as you look at the safe, the front edge is always going to be the edge with the thick door jamb, and the back edge is going to be the edge with the thinner flange where the bolt holes are situated for the bolts to go through. When you start the bolts, it's important to start them by hand or with the supplied Allen wrench. It's important to install the bolts carefully when you start them and not cross-thread them, because if you cross-thread them, you can damage the press fit nut. So after the right side is on, the last panel to put on the safe body is the top. So you carry the top over. This one's a little easier with a friend. You can hold it by the sides and make sure you don't pinch your fingers. Set the top on, and there's another set of bolts to get started. And after that, you should have all the bolts loosely started and ready to begin your tightening sequence. So the tightening sequence is something that just makes sure that your safe is square and flush by the time you're done assembling it. So you start with one of the bolts in the middle of the 2 side panels. So they'll be located here and here. So we're going to want to just snug up 4 bolts just to get the side panel, make sure the side panels are sucked in tight to the top and the bottom. Those bolts will be here, and on the other side here and here. On the smaller safe, there's one exactly in the middle. That's the one you want to start with. On the larger safe, there's 2 that are sort of in the middle. You can pick either one. You just want to make sure to get the sides sucked in, and you want to just snug that bolt a little bit, not tighten it all the way. Once you do that, the next step is the bolts in the front, and they actually are installed. The bolt heads are back in the safe, and the bolts actually face out towards you if you're looking at the front of the safe. You tighten those bolts up until the door jamb becomes flush, and you can kind of push it back and forth until you get it right, but you want this bolt to be snugged up, and then you want to come back here and tighten the one opposite. It's exactly in the same position, but it's facing the opposite way. And then you get these 2 bolts tightened. That locks everything in place so that the door jamb is flush, square, and you're ready to tighten the rest of the bolts at that point. So in summary, you do the 4 bolts here first, just snug, tight to square everything up, and then you do these 8 bolts that point from the inside of the safe to the outside of the safe, both front and back. And as long as your door jamb is lined up flush and the safe body is snug together, then you can feel free to tighten the rest of the bolts in whatever order you like. And the supplied wrench should get you to the appropriate torque. It's a small Allen wrench, and you just have to snug them all up, and you'll have a safe that's safe and secure. So at that point, we'll have a completed safe body, and the last thing to do will be to put the door on. It's the trickiest part, but it's totally manageable with 2 people. The key is to set the door on the ground in front of the safe at about a 45-degree angle to the safe, as if the door were partly open. There's rubber edging on the bottom of the safe, and on the larger model, there's also rubber on the safe opening itself. So you're going to want to lift up on the corner of the safe, the door that's closest to the safe, and set that up on the ledge, and then have your helper help you lift the door up at the same 45-degree angle to make sure you get behind the door jamb, and you slowly shut the door. Never lift on the dial or the electronic keypad. Make sure you and your helper both keep your fingers safe. Once you get the door into the shut position, you can usually jostle it around as necessary and get it to lock. Once it's locked, it's totally safe. It's not going to come out. It can't fall out on you, and then you can take a breath and worry about getting the hinges on. After the door's in place, the last step is to bolt the hinges on the front. So on both hinges, there is an adjuster screw on the bottom. So two wrenches are included in your toolkit. One wrench works for the hinge bolts and all the interior bolts. The smaller of those two wrenches is going to do this adjuster screw. So one of the tricks is to adjust this down as much as you can and get these 4 bolts installed. At that point, it's pretty easy to install them because you can just adjust this down until the holes line up. And you might have to push the door a little bit left or right to get the bolt holes to line up. Once you get all 4 bolts in, they're countersunk, so as you tighten them, they self-locate. Once you get both hinges bolted on completely, then you go back to this adjuster screw. You turn it clockwise as you're looking at it from the bottom to tighten it up. Lift the door off the bottom, because right now it's resting on the bottom of the safe, until it becomes loose. You can tell because you unlock it, it becomes a little loose. You can open the safe at that point. Then you peel off the rubber off the door and off the safe body if there's any, and you're ready to move on to interior assembly. Once the safe's all put together, the last step is to do the shelving. So the shelf brackets are completely modular and adjustable in any of the positions and the flush mount rail. So you can suit it to your collection. You can set it, this safe can be set up for 6 guns or 12 guns or 15 guns or 0 guns if you want it, and just all shelves. The brackets install very easily with no tools. You just push them in and push down, and it locks them in place similar to the shelving in your refrigerator. Both of the safes are divided in half, so you can configure each side of the safe however you like with respect to gun holders or shelving. There's also an option to put the guns in a straight row in multiple rows, and that fits the most guns in the safe, but you have to do a little bit more juggling to get the back ones out. The cool part about the shelving being super modular and adjustable is if you ever change your mind down the line that you order this as a 6 gun, then you want to set it up as a 12 gun, it's only a few parts we have to send you to convert it, and it's super easy to do with no tools necessary. Lastly, is to make sure the lock's functioning appropriately and to get your combo put in before we try to lock the safe door. So I like to try to make sure I understand the functioning of the lock with the default combo, because these ship out with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Super easy to remember, super easy to test out the functionality. So this outer ring controls the locking and unlocking of the safe, and the keypad is how you allow it to do that. So like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pound, and now you heard it click, that means you can unlock it. So the first thing that you should do is make sure the lock mechanism and the electronic lock are interacting appropriately, and that you understand how they work. So I locked it, nothing can move. In order to unlock the safe, I have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pound, and I turn the outer ring clockwise. Now I'm free to retract the lock plates. That's how the safe locks once the door's shut. So it's important to do that a couple times before you start to try to change the combination. It's easier to remember 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's easier to make sure everything's working right and that you understand how it works. So now we want to program in our combination. So this is the same story. We want to do this with the door open, just in case something goes wrong, we're not locked out of our safe. So we lock the mechanism. In order to change the code, you type in 22*, you type in your old combination, and then you type in the new combination. So before I do this, I like to write the new combination down on a Post-it note, put it on top. And in this case, in any case, the safe's going to ship to you with that default combination of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So to change it, we would go 22*. We would type in the old combination. We hit the pound key. We're going to hear 5 beeps. That tells us it's time to type in the new combination. For simplicity's sake, let's do the same combo backwards. 3 beeps. You got to do it one more time. This is to make sure you know your combo. So you type it in again, the exact same way. You hear 3 beeps again, and now this lock is set to the new combo. So to show us, we'll type it in, hit the pound key, it clicks, it's ready to be unlocked. So it's good to make sure that you can lock and unlock the safe 3 times before you do it with the door shut. Now your combinations change and you're ready to go.